September 8th, 2020. We'll start the meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum. It's okay.
Roberts. Here. Armstrong. Here. Jones. Here. Neiman. Solomon. Here. Evans. Here.
For the record, Nordstrom is here. Okay, and do we have someone here for an invocation? I think we've missed that. Well, let's stand. We'll have a moment of silence, and then we will follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to
the republic for which it stands,
Thank you, everyone. And now on to the adoption of the agenda. This is where the council members may adopt the agenda as written or make certain alterations to it. Would there be a motion? Motion by Armstrong to adopt the agenda, second by Lehman. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay, number one on the list, an update on the stall barn project for Pennington County. We have John Kaiser and Mike Kuhl here.
Good evening. Mike Kuhl, Director of Pennington County Buildings and Grounds. Tonight you will be authorizing payment of Vision Funds reimbursement for the stall barn project at the Central States Fairgrounds. This is a 15,000, just over 15,000 square foot pre-engineered building that's located on the west side of the event center at the fairgrounds. The project was completed on schedule and under budget. Overall construction cost for the project was $828,000 and $805, excuse me. When we had just two change orders on it for just under $39,000. John Kaiser and myself thought we wanted to take this opportunity to come provide this update. John has a little bit more he wants to share.
This one on? Oh, there we go. Hi, John Kaiser, Central States Fair. As Mike said, the timing of it couldn't have been any better as far as finishing the project. When we came to the Vision Fund, we had talked about it being implemented to bring new events to the area and also to grow the events that we're currently hosting. And when the barn was completed in May, we reopened our doors in May, and the impact was immediate. Being one of the only facilities that was running in the Midwest, our events that were coming in were on average bigger by 50 to 75%. Barrel racings that were normally 135 contestants were showing up 350 strong. So the barn being used was immediate. So the timing was pretty good. And then we've also brought in 4 new events on this calendar year. We had the NWBRA finals, which was about a 550 entry barrel race finals that was up in Gillette last year and came down and utilized the barns. And then also probably one of the bigger ones is here at the end of the month we have the PRCA Tour finale coming, which is the top 24 contestants in the world in each event for rodeo. coming to compete in basically a mini NFR, kind of the last chance to earn as much money to get into the finals. It'll be the biggest rodeo South Dakota's had, and that's because we have that stall barn. That same weekend, we also host a massive barrel race, which usually brings about 550 contestants to the area. So with the addition of that stall barn, we're able to host both events at the same time, which is monumental for the community. And so already we're seeing great things out of, something as simple as just a pre-engineered building with some stalls in it. But again, on behalf of Central States Fair, we just wanted to say thank you for the city for coming together with Pennington County and bringing this to fruition, because it's going to have a huge economic impact this year and for years to come. So thank you.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you guys for being here tonight. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I move to acknowledge, if I can get a second to retain the floor real quick.
By everyone. Go ahead.
I just want to say, as part of that Vision Fund process, this was a great example of intergovernmental agencies working well together. Thank you for being under budget and getting it done. And also thanks to the Central States Fair for all the work you did in terms of putting on the event and, of course, future events and things like that to keep things going. Definitely appreciate the great cooperation we have with the county. And thank you also, I see Commissioner LaCroix is in the audience today. Appreciate that relationship, and it's good to see that. And so thanks for the update.
Okay, everyone in favor of acknowledging that report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, moving on. Next is general public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at this meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And first up, we have Gary Wasson. And for all public comment periods, all public speakers, we have a 3-minute time limit. We can look up here at these lights to see how we're doing on time, okay?
Turn the lights off.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm here. I brought up a comment last week. Nothing's been done about it. Now, I hope something gets done, because I talked to Reggie and I talked to Drew, Mrs. Drew. And I trusted the mayor did his job 2 weeks ago, but it hasn't been done. Okay, now I'm going to tell you, I'm not stupid enough to go through stuff I can't get through. I go to Safeway from 11th Street up Rushmore Road. Now, in the wintertime, the crosswalks are not cleaned off with snow. I'm not stupid enough to go in one of those banks and get stuck. I will drive up 8th Street. I go 4 miles an hour. Traffic behind me goes 4 miles an hour, or they can run over me, one or the other. I don't care. I was hit before and I'd be hit again. So I'm not afraid of getting hit. I had a girl at the apartments where I live. She runs a scooter as I do, but hers is smaller. Her wheels are only 5 inches. She was almost thrown off of her scooter because of the gravel on the sidewalks. Where she hit, when you hit something with these wheels, if it's just one wheel, it'll stop that wheel. The other wheel keeps turning and just swing you around. And that's what happened to her, and she almost got thrown off her scooter there on 8th Street. Now, I don't know what the problem is in not getting them cleaned off, because I started this 8 weeks ago to get them cleaned off. And if it's cost, because they don't want to put somebody out there to clean them, my suggestion is put a levy on the property owners and let them pay for somebody to walk up down 8th Street cleaning the sidewalks. That's supposed to be a beautification project. And the gravel that is put in along the walls or on top of the walls or in the flower beds are not heavy enough to stand the rain and stuff we get here in Rapid City, and that gravel washes out onto the sidewalk. Now, whoever approved the type of beautification thing, as far as the beds go, should take and rethink what they're doing. Now, up there at quick loop on 8th Street in the 1600 block. They got rocks about this size there, and the water is washing them out onto the sidewalk. Starbucks, they got rocks in their place, and they got a downhill sloped retaining wall. They got rocks in there that are probably about 1.5 inches, 2 inches around. They're washing down onto the sidewalks. Now, someone should turn around and go up through there and straighten the damn thing out and put something in there that'll stay. So that's all I got to say.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight, and we'll go back to work and try to get this resolved.
Thank you.
Next, speaker request from Chuck Henry.
It's been a while. I just want to make a comment of the Civic Center new arena. I was over there the other day last week when it was the hottest that week, and it's turning out great. As far as I know, it should be enclosed by now, and I think we're right on time and great. And Craig's doing a great job of looking at it and letting me take a tour of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Nancy Tryon.
Good evening, Mayor Allender and City Council members. My name is Nancy Tryon. I'm the treasurer of the Black Hills chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I'm here to talk about Constitution Week for just a short time. The commemoration of America's most important document is celebrated annually during the week of September 17th through the 23rd. The tradition of celebrating the Constitution was started by the Daughters of the American Revolution. In 1955, the DAR petitioned Congress to set aside September 17th through the 23rd annually to the dedication for the observance of Constitution Week. The resolution was later adopted by the U.S. Congress and signed into public law on August 2nd. 1956 by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. The aim of the celebrations are to emphasize citizens' responsibilities for protecting and defending the Constitution, inform people that the Constitution is the basis for America's great heritage and the foundation for our way of life, encourage the study of the historical events that led to the framing of the Constitution in September 1787. Constitution Week is a great time to learn more about this important document and celebrate the freedom it gave us. I'd like to thank Mayor Allender for agreeing to sign a proclamation about Constitution Week on this 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the U.S. Constitution by the Constitutional Convention. This is the 100th year anniversary coming up for our Black Hills chapter of the DAR. That will be celebrated in 2021. So we have been in this city for a long time. If you need information online, check with our website, dar.org. Anyone who's interested in joining or for more information. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple council members like to weigh in. Go to Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor, for giving me this time. As you can tell from most of the press, Rapid City and the Western Black Hills are getting pretty beat up on our COVID numbers. And I would like to just address some of the things that are good things in Rapid City and the good people here that are working to protect others from COVID in Rapid City. I want them to know that we see you, like an avatar greeting, I see you. I want to thank the stores that require masks. To our grocery stores, drugstores, and department stores, we thank you for your efforts. For gyms, restaurants, coffee shops, and other gathering places requiring employees to wear masks, thank you. It makes the experience more comfortable in uncomfortable times. To the shopping areas and stores supplying hand sanitizers at your entryways and by your cash registers, we notice and we're grateful. For all the bars and casinos with masked employees making that extra effort to keep areas sanitized and screens cleaned, once again, your efforts are noticed. The mall stores are making efforts not only in masking, but by keeping the numbers of people in the stores at a minimum of 4 or 5 people. I saw the lines on Labor Day of people waiting for entry, and kudos to all the stores across Rapid City applying this safety measure. If you are making masks, there are still several Rapid City organizations needing your help. The Rapid City Area Schools, Black Hills Special Services Cooperative, and the RCAS Regifting Store. Call the 211 helpline to get in touch with the organizations in need. Before COVID hit, I stayed in Japan with the Nikko Exchange. We got up one morning and the hostess, the young mom, was wearing a mask. And she wore it because she was feeling a little sick that day. And she wanted to protect us and her family and anybody that she met from catching what she might have. And I just thought that was really an incredibly kind thing to do. She wore that mask for her guests, her family, and her community. I'd like to see this attitude with everyone right now. We're working together to bring the curve down, and I thank each and every one of you who is trying through these simple steps in curbing the curve. And thank you for all your efforts.
Okay, that's it for the general public comment. Next item on the agenda is the non-public hearing items 2 through 46. We have a public comment period for items 2 through 36, and there's one speaker request for item 14. Chuck Henry.
I've kind of talked to Richie and Laura about this item. It says final report, and I know there's only been one public comment period or meeting in here on the transportation study and that. And I know it's probably COVID that's stopped the other meetings from happening, but I think there's more public comment that needs to be put in on this before there's a final plan adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. That'll end the public comment period, and that takes us to consent items 2 through 36. Would the council members like to pull any of these items for separate consideration? Darla Drew.
I'd like to pull 11 and 16.
Laura Armstrong.
Number 14, please.
Greg Stroman.
Number 15, please.
Pat Jones.
Item number 12, please.
Okay. Then could we have a motion to approve the balance of the consent with the exception of 11, 12, 14, 15, and 16?
Second.
Motion approved by Solomon, second by Jones. All in favor of approving consent, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go to item number 11. Authorize Mayor and Finance Officer to sign the 2021-2023 Title VI Program Plan as required by FDA to receive federal transit grant funds. And we'll go to Darla.
Thank you. When I was reading through this, I found that there was a requirement, or at least part of the plan was about English as a second language writers and how they are helped or how things are explained to them on the buses. And I know that we have a growing Hispanic population in our areas as far as many of the workers coming in with some of the roofing crews as well, they're Spanish speaking. So I just wondered if there was any plan or anything in the future that we're looking towards getting something for these folks so they understand the system better. And my question is for Dale from Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Alderwoman Drew. As part of our Title VI requirements to receive federal funding for FTA, we have to have a language assistance plan. Part of that plan identifies if there is a need in the community for language assistance for riders of our transit system. We monitor daily interactions we have with our riders regarding language, if there are any special needs, people that don't speak English as their primary language, and we have very, very, very low needs outside of English at this time. Certainly, it's very important to have a plan in place and ready to address those issues, but we get no requests for different type language help or assistance on our buses at the moment.
Do you think that's because we don't have Spanish-speaking people, or they may not know it's available? I mean, are they intimidated by our transit?
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Certainly
Fair
our
enough.
transit is open. We follow all the non-discrimination. In fact, that's what the Title VI plan is about. I don't know why people that don't speak English as their primary language are not riding transit. I can't answer that.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, may we have a motion on 11, please? Motion to approve by Lehman, second by Stroman. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12, request from Kimberly and Shane Geidel for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk per city ordinance 16.16.050 along Bradsky Road, which is the west frontage of their property located at 23410 Bradsky Road. We'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I read as much as I could about this and looked at the map, et cetera, and I just need some clarification perhaps about the city's ability to manage things outside the city limits. Is it a 3-mile zone? Is it a 5-mile zone? How far are we allowed to go out?
We'll go to Dale Tech again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman Jones. Our plating jurisdiction is 3 miles outside of the city limits. In addition, I believe the airport, since it is part of the city, has I think it's either 1.25 miles or 1.5 miles buffer around it as well to control platting. So this property is within that airport buffer zone. So when a plat came forward, they're required to follow city rules and regulations in that area.
So it is within the boundaries of those zones, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So then my next question then is, if this is waived, does it impact future development and future projects out there that we may want sidewalk attached to?
The platting action that occurred out along Bradsky Road are large parcels. Certainly, it's a county road. There's no place to put a sidewalk. In the future, when those parcels are broken down into smaller residential size parcels, that would be the appropriate time to implement sidewalk installation, in my opinion.
I was reading 16.16.050, and Part B of it says, sidewalks will be installed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for the structure on the lot. Are there structures there at this time?
Since this is inside the county, the only thing that the City of Rapid City can control is the platting of the property. Any building permits on the property are actually issued by the county, and we, as the city, don't regulate building permits, nor do we issue certificates of occupancy within the county.
So that 16.16.050 doesn't apply fully to this situation?
Not in this.
That's why I'm a little confused.
Correct. Not in this instance. It does not.
So then, once it's platted, and individual homes, that kind of thing are built, that's when this would be addressed rather than right now, because it's a huge piece of property, a huge amount of frontage,
Correct.
if I recall correctly. Okay. All right, thank you. I yield my time.
Okay, motion on this item, please. Motion approved by Nordstrom. Second by John Roberts. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, acknowledge the 2021-2024 Transportation Improvement Program final report.
That was me.
Then we'll go to Laura Armstrong.
Thank you, Mayor. May I direct some questions to Mr. Young?
I think Kip Harrington's here going to handle that for us.
Mr. Harrington, Mr. Henry had some concerns and comments. I was wondering if you would be so kind to address them.
I'm sorry, I was on my way into the meeting and I missed those comments, so if I could get a brief summary of what those were, I'd be happy to address them.
It was that there should be more public comment before a final report.
Sure, thank you. My name is Kip Harrington. I'm with Long Range Planning. As part of our Metropolitan Planning Organization process, which is the part that produces this transportation improvement program, there are many opportunities for public comment. We publish a notice in the newspaper of the meetings and the agendas. We also have a website for rapidcityarea.mpo.org that puts all of these products out there and has a link to comment as well. So we have multiple opportunities for public comment, as well as we also do this as a draft report as well. So there are at least 2 separate occasions, both at the MPO meetings and at these council meetings, for public to provide input, as well as a public input period before that.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the report, or acknowledge the report by Jason Solomon, and a second by Lance Lehman. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 15, approve the 6th Street Corridor Study Draft Report. We'll go to Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. Last week at the Public Works meeting, Mr. Harrington came and provided a concise but very informative update, a report on the 6th Street Corridor Study. And he agreed to graciously come and provide that information to us. I know that he solicited a lot of community comment before he and his group finished their report. And I would just like to give him an opportunity to explain to the whole council and anyone that's listening what they've done so far. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a brief presentation. If we can cue that up, please. Thank you. So this is the draft report of the 6th Street Corridor Plan, which is one of 2 components of the 6th Street study. The first was the 6th and Omaha Crossing Feasibility Study, which we saw the draft report a few months ago. This is the Corridor Plan, which serves to try to form a cohesive vision of the entire 6th Street Corridor. So 6th Street is a key downtown corridor for mobility and activity. We've had some previous planning efforts that tried to establish a future vision, and we're looking at doing some landscape and streetscape improvements to increase safety and connectivity and the comfort of the users on 6th Street. 6th Street, like I said, is an important corridor. There's many destinations along 6th Street, from the Performing Arts Center and Rapid City High School on the south, past the Public Library, through Main Street Square, City Hall, the Milo Barber Transportation Center, Memorial Park, and to the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center and the under construction Monument Arena. It provides access to different jobs and residences and many city services, and it's a multimodal corridor, meaning all modes of transportation use that corridor, from driving to pedestrians to transit users and bicyclists. And it does serve as the main link between downtown and Memorial Park. So to get community involvement in this, we had a project website which had an online commenting map so people could take a look at the maps and leave their comments there. We held 2 public meetings. You can see the graphic of one of the display boards that was used at a public meeting. Lots of notes, lots of comments were made on that. We also had one-on-one discussions with the business owners up and along the corridor and through downtown. Both myself and the consultant team walked around downtown on multiple occasions and spoke to business owners and managers about the 6th Street Corridor study. And we also did an online survey since we couldn't hold our last public meeting due to the pandemic. And that survey was to provide feedback on what the community thinks is important and what kind of draft recommendations they saw as critical. And we received over 500 responses on that survey, which is by far the greatest number of responses we've received in any sort of public feedback in any project. And the overall response was very positive. So we asked the question, how does this study align with your vision of what 6th Street should look like on a scale of 1 to 10? And as you can see on the chart, the majority of the responses were in the 7 to 10 range. So we think we did pretty well in aligning that with the public's input. And the community is also allowed to prioritize what types of amenities and elements they thought should be included in the study. So the study advisory team came up with 4 goals for the plan, and those are safety, accessibility, connection, and character and identity for the corridor. And when put out to the community identified safety as the most important goal of the study. So then we prioritize the transportation elements and the community amenities. And as far as transportation goes, the top 2 responses were sidewalks and enhanced crosswalks. And as far as community amenities, people wanted to see enhanced lighting and enhanced landscaping. There's a lighting project downtown that's been very successful along Main and St. Joe, and people would like to see that extended up and down the length of 6th Street. So again, some of the elements that we recommended included lighting, crosswalks, plaza spaces, bicycle parking, lots of different types of improvements that the public could take a look at and recommend what they thought is important. Another part of the study was the 6th and Omaha crossing. So once we figured out that this crossing is feasible, then we put out a couple different concepts for different types of crossing at 6th and Omaha. These would be grade separated concepts to keep the pedestrians and the motor vehicles from mixing. They'd both tie into an expanded plaza out here in front of City Hall to make more public space along 6th Street. And the top one you see is what's called a park cover, where Omaha Street would be slightly lowered and 6th Street would be slightly raised, and it would basically become an extension of Memorial Park over Omaha Street and tying into the plaza. The lower concept is what's called a ribbon walkway, which would be an elevated pedestrian walkway up and over Omaha Street connecting into Memorial Park. And based on the public survey results, nearly 2/3 of those who responded preferred the park cover concept. Now these are just 2 concepts that we came up with. When we get into the engineering phase, we'll take a look at these concepts and certainly take a look at others that may also be valid for this crossing. And then we went through and came up with some recommendations for each section of the corridor. So looking at the south from the Performing Arts Center, we see things like enhanced lighting and widened sidewalks, improved crosswalks, and some more public art and plantings and things like that. And that continues on through downtown, through the main part of downtown, Main and St. Joe, and then continuing up to the crossing and through Memorial Park with enhanced lighting, more art, new trees, and some more interpretive signage along the promenade. And then that ties into the Rushmore Plaza Civic Center. So the next steps of the study are we're going to break the corridor concept into individual elements and determine what's really necessary. And we'll take a look at partnership opportunities. How can we capitalize on this with other agencies, city departments? Are there any state and federal agencies? And will the private sector be willing to participate as well? And of course, the big question is funding. What kind of funding can we get? So we'll take a look at the use of city funds, whether that's through CIP or maybe a Vision Fund application. There are some state and federal grants that are available. Transportation Alternatives Program is used basically for bicycle and pedestrian transportation. Those funds may be available for some of this. And the big one is the BUILD grant, which stands for Better Utilizing Infrastructure to Leverage Development. It's a federal grant program for innovative transportation concepts. And in speaking with our South Dakota DOT and federal highway partners, they feel that this project would be an excellent candidate for something along those lines, since there's nothing like that anywhere in the area. And maybe some private foundations would also like to participate as well. That's the end of that. Our next steps are we will package the draft corridor study and the draft crossing feasibility study into one final report. We'll bring that before the MPO committees in October, and then you folks should see it shortly after that. And I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll go to Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Harrington. I just move to approve.
Second by Greg Stroman. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to one more, doesn't it? Item 16, approve the 2020 to 2023 Transportation Improvement Plan Amendment number 20-004, and Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to bring up Dale. Tech once again to explain some of this to me, since some of it impacts Ward 5 with the ongoing San Marco project that's kind of been hanging out there for quite a long time, and it seems that it's going to be remedied with some federal funds. And if you could talk about that a bit, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly. The item on the agenda is a transportation improvement plan amendment. These are fairly common when projects get developed, funding sources are identified. Certainly any federal funding or state funding, those have to be added to the state transportation improvement plan. San Marco, this is probably the fourth or fifth time that bridge has been in front of you. Certainly, I believe we were recipients of big grant funding for that structure. It takes time to get those replacements designed, programmed in. So really, this step is just putting it on the calendar. All the heavy lifting has been done as far as getting it to this this point in the process. Is identifying the need, identifying the funding. Those are the two big things. From here on out, since it's on the is going on the plan now, then a consultant will be hired, the design will be done, and then ultimately it'll be built.
So we're looking at 2022 or 23?
2023.
23. Okay. All right. I yield. Thank you for that information.
Okay, motion on that item? Did we have a motion? I'm sorry? Motion approved by Nordstrom, second by Stroman. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that takes us through consent. And before we go to non-consent items, I'd like to ask the council, would there be an objection if we moved item 42, which is the city's audit report, up till the next item? Any objection to taking this out of order? No. Okay. Let's do item 42 then, which is to approve the audit report of the City of Rapid City, the 2019 Financial and Compliance Report. And I believe we have an auditor from Cato Thorstensen here.
Good evening. I'm Tracy Hansen. I'm an audit partner with Cato Thorstensen. You've got the draft audit report and the findings that are in that report. If there's any questions for me, I'm here to answer those on either the audit process or on those findings or any other information that you saw in that report. So, thank you.
Anything to add from the finance department?
Attached to the agenda was the plan for the findings that were included. Pauline came up with those responses. So if you have questions on that, you can ask me.
Okay, any questions from council? Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. If I may make a motion to approve first and then retain the floor.
Okay, second by Laura Armstrong. Go ahead.
This is probably a question for Tracy, if I may, is that some of these corrective action plans, some of them are ongoing, but there's some reasons why they are ongoing. Care to explain that?
So is there one in particular you're asking about, or all of them in general?
They're in general, because there's several of them.
Sure. There's a couple of comments in relation to my specific position. We've made some changes in relation to the access that I have and controls that are done in the system. There's an item on there regarding some CDs that we have. There is a disagreement between the state and the city as to far as if they're allowable investments. And that's being worked through. As far as when those CDs come due, we'll move them out to appropriate investments.
Mayor, a follow-up question. Ms. Davis, if you can explain a little bit about the, I'm going to call the process for some of the changes that were done to the financial software was creating, the way I was reading it was creating an issue. So can you address that for us, please?
The changes were basically when we went from our previous software to our current software.
Yes.
And so we have different abilities than we did in our previous software that allow for controls to take place. We're still kind of working through some of that access.
So it's just a mechanical issue, a technical or technology issue to deal
Right.
with? Thank you. I yield, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, well, may we have a motion then? Oh, you did make a motion, and we had a second. All in favor of approval of the audit report, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, back to the agenda. We'll go on to non-consent items. There are no speaker requests for these items, so we won't have a public comment period. We'll go to ordinances, item 37. First reading, ordinance 6436, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers for One Heart for a rezoning request from high-density residential district to general commercial district for property generally described as being located at 216 and 218 Quincy Street. Motion approved by Solomon. Second by Nordstrom. Okay, all in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 38, first reading, ordinance 6437, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers for Dennis Casey for a rezoning request from medium-density residential district to office commercial district for property generally described as being located at 423 South Street. Motion to approve by Drew and a second by Stroman. All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 39, first reading ordinance 6438, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by the City of Rapid City for a rezoning request from office commercial district to low density residential district 2 for property generally described as being located southeast corner of Healing Way and Addison Avenue. Motion approved by Drew, second by Stroman. All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 40, first reading of ordinance 6440 regarding supplemental appropriation 6 for 2020. Motion to approve by Jones and a second by Nordstrom, and we'll go to John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got a question for Tracy. She's getting up. She knew I was going to have a question for her, if that's okay.
Yes.
Tracy, the CPI tax increase, is that in this budget?
So the item that we're currently on is a supplemental appropriation for 2020.
Yes.
The next item is the fiscal year 2021 budget, and that does include the CPI.
Okay, so technically it is in here.
2021 budget
Yes,
as well. As
absolutely. And can you tell me what that is?
319,000.
Okay, that's close enough. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Lost my place.
Who did the motion?
Okay, item 40. All in favor of approval, say aye. Opposed? Opposed? Okay, John Roberts opposed. Motion passes. All right. Now, item 41, second reading, ordinance 6441 regarding FY 2021 appropriation ordinance. Motion approval by Jones and a second by Drew. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion passes with one no from John Roberts. Okay, and then on to community development items. Item 43. A request by Fisk Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers for Mount Rushmore Properties for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed Lot B of DuPont Addition, generally described as being located at 1211 Mount Rushmore Road, and the recommendation from committee is to approve with stipulations. Motion to approve stipulations by Nordstrom, and there was a second? By Roberts? Okay. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 44, a request by Renner Associates LLC for Kimberly and Shane Geidel for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots A and B of Junt subdivision, generally described as being located at 23410 Bradsky Road, and the recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Motion to that effect by Lehman and a second by Drew. All in favor of approval with stipulations, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now on to council and liaison reports. Item 45, acknowledge the report by the Mayor's Committee on Disabilities.
Good evening. Pat Jones, Ward 1. I wanted to just report a little bit tonight on a couple of the committees that I've been involved in. There's been some exciting things going on, and so I just wanted to take a minute tonight to report. I wanted to do it from up there, but the tradition is to report from down here, and who am I to break tradition? So here we go. First of all, the Mayor's Committee on Disabilities. Since I've been on board, they've met twice. They're meeting through Zoom right now, and they're doing some good work. They recently updated their website with a new mission and vision statement. They had 2 openings on their committee. They had numerous applicants, and so they have 2 new members, which they're excited about. One of the applicants who was not chosen to be on the committee is still taking an active role, attending meetings and offering assistance. They are spending a lot of time working on their structure, roles, and goals as a committee. Several of the people involved have never worked on a structured, specific committee before, so they're working hard on learning their roles, what to do, what not to do, and the process to make progress, and they're doing a fine job of it. They are discussing various activities to help spread the word about their mission and vision. They are very concerned about handicap parking in Rapid City, handicap van parking, people parking where the spot for the van to open up. If you notice handicap spots, some of them have the slanted lines beside them. That's for a van to open up and a wheelchair to come out. So, and they say that that's being abused a lot throughout town. So they just want to raise the awareness of handicap parking and to have it be used properly and have it be enforced if people are parking improperly. And they heard a good report from the City of Rapid City Human Resource Manager about compliance with handicapped rules and how to report violations. And I believe they're working on getting that information on the website, exactly how to report violations if they observe them. Any questions? Thank you. The next one is the Humane Society of the Black Hills.
Let's acknowledge 45 first, and have a motion to acknowledge. Motion to acknowledge by Nordstrom and a second by Solomon. All in favor say aye. Okay, motion passes. Next one, 46.
Thank you, Mayor. Humane Society of the Black Hills, again, I forgot to mention, the Mayor's Committee on Disabilities, although they've been meeting via Zoom, they are hoping to have their next meeting in person. So they're looking forward to that. They feel they can get more done that way, and it's probably a good idea. The Humane Society of the Black Hills is doing some tremendous things. In July of 2020, they had roughly 400 calls for service, and that doesn't include general patrol. That's specific calls for service, so the animal enforcement folks are very, very busy already. There's a new animal control officer who is finishing his training and just about ready to solo, so that's a great thing. The Feline Spotlight will feature live streaming of cats for the promotion and adoption. So that could be cool. A summer appeal for donations is taking place now, and planning a holiday appeal coming up. With donations being down to organizations around the town, it's not surprising to hear that donations to the Humane Society are also down. They are always in need of cash donations as well as food and other things, but they are doing a great job moving forward. They had a Wags and Waves photo contest, and In my notes, I put hopes be starting soon. That's actually completed now, so that's an update from when I created my notes. They've updated their social media use policy for employees and board members, and that has been finalized now, so they have that in place, and they're excited about that. Obviously, they're not going into the schools or other places to do presentations because of the pandemic. They miss that a lot. From what they say, they do that often to spread the good news about what goes on at our shelter and with the Humane Society, so they're missing that and hope to do that again soon. They're in need of 2 new board members, so if you're interested in serving on the board of directors for the Humane Society, please contact the animal shelter. Updating their bylaws and the membership opportunity for supporters, that's something they've put on hold for now. So good stuff going on with both of those committees. Any questions?
Move to acknowledge.
Richie Nordstrom has something to say.
No other questions? Okay.
Thank you. Here, first, move to acknowledge. If I get a second, retain the floor.
Yeah,
Okay.
I already did.
Steal your thunder.
Oh, fine.
Just a clarification on the new officer. Is this a replacement or a second officer?
Second officer.
Thank you. I yield.
Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. Pat, has there been any discussion about the proposed urban chickens with the Humane Society?
Yes, there has been at length, and they are not in favor of the urban chickens being passed. They're concerned about the enforcement, they're concerned about the extra work it would cause them, and just the overall issue. They don't see it as a good fit for Rapid City at this time, so they have gone on record against approving urban chickens in Rapid City.
Darla Drew.
Of course, I'd like to make a comment on that the Urban Hen Group has been supplying that help to Rapid City for a long time because urban chickens are right now, they're underground. No one really knows that there are as many as there are in this town. That our move is to regulate them and not include the Humane Society as an enforcement group. Also, I talked with code enforcement, and they said as far as feral chickens, runaway chickens, or whatever that kind of thing you want to call it, they've only had maybe 1 call per year, so it's very minimal in what we're looking at as far as enforcement on urban hens. So sorry, but I had to let that be known. And thank you for these reports. I really appreciated that. I was on the Disabilities Committee. They were kind of spinning their wheels for a while, but it sounds like they've really got it going on now, and we need them. We need their voice. So thank you for that, and thank you for the report on the Humane Society. Maybe I'll try and get somebody from the Urban Hens to go for one of those positions, because I think it'd be a good fit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bill Evans.
Since Darla just touched on that, I'm curious, has there been any discussion about this rock problem on that Disabilities Committee? Because it is a major issue, and I think we need to fix it. Have they been contacted and addressed that at all?
Not since I've been attending the meetings, no. I'm sure that's a topic they would find very interesting, though.
Okay, we have a motion to acknowledge the report on the Humane Society. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And for the next item, we need an executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2, subsection 3, to consult with legal counsel about proposed litigation. May I have a motion, please? Okay, Roberts makes a motion, second by Armstrong. All in favor of executive session, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. We're in executive session. Okay, we'll get started here in a minute. Let's get started, folks. Can we have a motion to come out of executive session, please?
I did.
Okay, motion by Armstrong, second by Lehman to come out of executive session. And all in favor of coming out of executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and is there a motion related to executive session? We'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I would make a motion that we authorize the city's attorney's office to take any and all legal actions to pursue resolving the Ridgestone Mobile Park issue.
Okay, second by Bill Evans. All right. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, the next is the bill list, item 47, and we'll go to Assistant Finance Director Tracy Davis.
There are no additions to the bill list, so as it is presented to you at $11,615,594.24.
Motion approved by Solomon, second by Lehman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn by Armstrong and Lehman, and all the good people said aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.